I'm in my mid-60s, she's in her mid-50s, and we're going to these conventions, and there we are mingling with people that are half, a third of our age, and they accept us. We're part of the group.
Sure.
And they look forward to seeing us, and if we're not there, they miss us. And,
right.
We're affectionately known as the first couple of cosplay.
Oh, wow.
By many of our people. They
no kidding.
I guess we made that big of an impression because everywhere we go, we're together, okay?
Sure.
And we're always smiling. We're always, meeting new people, stuff like that. So I guess people notice. And like I said, we have become the first couple of cosplay unofficially.
That is interesting.
And it's really, really fun.
Well, real quick, let me go back real quick to your Air Force career because, school is about to get out. A lot of kids are making some decisions, whether they want to go to college or into the military.
Right.
You had the opportunity, Alfredo, to meet some pretty interesting people, and one of them was actually an actual legend, the first man to break the sound barrier, right? General Chuck Yeager.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, General Chuck Yeager. I mean, again, a boy, a little guy. Especially when I met him, I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But here I am from Freer, Texas, and I get to meet the guy that broke the sound barrier.
Yeah.
The actual living legend. I mean, it was just a feeling beyond. It was just one of those things. How it came about, though, was I was assigned to the Air Force Weapons Laboratory, like I mentioned earlier, when I switched career fields. And for a couple of years, I did the research and development stuff. And then my boss said, "Hey, I got an opportunity for you. It's a very significant position. It'll give you a lot of visibility and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah." I said, "Okay, yes, sir, I'll take it." And it turns out that as a young captain, I was assigned as the executive officer to the Air Force Weapons Laboratory commander.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was as a captain, essentially helping run an organization of over 1,500 scientists and engineers, support people.
Mm-hmm.
I say help run because anything that went into the commander had to come through me first.
Sure.
So I was his filter for phone calls, for correspondence, et cetera, et cetera. So
sure.
It was really, really a lot of fun to do that. And here you are, other colonels coming to me and saying, "Hey, can I get in to see the commander on such and such a date?" I said, "Well, let me look at the schedule." "Oh, yeah, you can make it, sir. You come in on this day."
Sure.
That was a real trip. Okay.
I bet.
And so anyway, one day, my commander comes up and he says, "Alfredo, I want to have a formal military function. It's called a dining out."
Dining out,
and I knew
yeah.
what a dining out was.
Sure.
And it's where you get all dressed up in your formal military dress. You go to dinner, you have a dance, and you have a guest speaker, and there's a lot of military protocol and courtesy involved and all that
Sure.
kind of stuff. So that was one of my first really tough things to do because I had never organized one, but here I was. I had to organize one. So he says, "I want you to get me a guest speaker, and I want that guest speaker to be Chuck Yeager."
Wow.
And I told him, "You mean the Chuck Yeager?" He said, "Yes, Alfredo, the Chuck Yeager. I know he talks at events like this, so go find him and get him to talk. I don't care what you got to do."
Wow.
Get him as our speaker. So, okay, so time went on. I said, "Oh, God, what am I going to do?" So I started asking around, canvassing around. I finally found out who did all his scheduling, which was his wife.
Uh-huh.
So I got a hold of his wife. I asked her what we were planning on doing, and she very politely said, "Yes, he can support the event, and just let us know when, where to be, all that kind of stuff, and we'll go from there." So I said, "Okay, thank you very much." So we had some other conversations, but
Sure.
Anyway, the date came, and it was time for the event, a couple of days before the event. And Chuck Yeager flew in an F-4 Phantom jet into Kirtland Air Force Base. Okay? And at the time, young captain, I had my very, very first sports car. It was a little red Pontiac Fiero GT. Two-seater, really sporty looking.
Sure.
And, and I said, "Oh, I guess I'll go pick him up in this. wants to get a staff car, I'll get a staff car.
Right.
So I went up, drove my Fiero, got permission to go on the flight line, drove my Fiero right up next to his, as his F4 was parking, and I saw the canopy open, and out steps this man, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And there he is, and my eyes just opened wide. Here is the man that broke the sound barrier. Okay?
Yeah, no
and
kidding.
he's coming towards me. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Just be cool. And
Yeah.
I went up, introduced myself, saluted, all the proper courtesies. And I said, sir, would you like for me to get you a staff car so we can get you down to your hotel? He said, Captain Garcia, no, I see you got a really nice little car there. Why don't you take me in your car? And I said, you want to go in my car, sir? He said, yes, sir. Okay. So there I am. I open up the seat. He puts his bag in Fiero's really tight for space.
Sure.
The trunk opens up and you drop the bag in there, and that's about all there's room for.
Right.
And then he dropped into the passenger seat of my Fiero, and there we go, tooling around Albuquerque, New Mexico. There I am with Chuck Yeager as a passenger beside me.
Wow.
And I tell you what, I'll never forget that. I wish that we would have had cell phones and stuff
Sure.
like that.
Absolutely. What was he like, Alfredo? What was General Chuck Yeager like?
He was a very personable. He is a very personable man.
Mm-hmm.
Very down to earth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't strike me as a general. Usually generals are very strong.
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
He seemed very down to earth and very friendly, and was asking me questions about my past. So it was more about me than about him. Okay.
Really?
And that's a mark. I think that's a mark of a true leader.
Sure.
A leader doesn't spend time talking about himself. He spends time asking his people
Exactly.
what they do and taking an interest in them.
Yep.
So I saw him as a number one leader. Okay.
Because we all know his
anyway,
story already. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Uh huh.
So
Sure.
So I took him to the hotel, got him settled in, and I was getting ready to leave. And I said, "Sir, is there anything else I can do for you?" He said, "No, Garcia, come pick me up at the time. But I tell you, before you go, can you get me a 6-pack of beer?" I said, "Sir, yeah, give me a 6-pack of beer." I said, "Okay." So there I go.
General asked you to get him some beer. Yeah.
General asked me to get a beer. I salute, go get beer, right? So
Right.
I go down to the bar in the hotel. Well, they didn't have 6-packs, so I get in my car. I go down to a little neighboring 7-Eleven or Circle K. I can't remember what it was. One of those convenience stores.
Uh-huh.
And I grab a 6-pack of beer. And I don't remember the beer. It eludes my name. But anyway, I come up, knock on the door. Say, "Oh, thank you very much." And just as I was handing the beer, I was thinking about it. When I mentioned I had conversations with his wife. Well, his wife had told me that not to get him any beer.
Oh, no.
So I said, "Oh, well, she'll find out. Oh, well."
Yeah.
There goes my career.
Exactly. No kidding.
But anyway, that was probably one of the coolest things. And then I picked him up that evening. He went to our event. He spoke. He did a fantastic job. The next day, I picked him up once again in my Fiero. We went down to the flight line, and as he was getting ready to climb into his F4, he pulled a book out of his duffel bag, and it was one of his autobiographies that he had autographed, and he gave it to me and said, "Here, Captain Garcia, this is for you. Thank you for a most memorable time. I will never forget it." And I watched him there as he got in his F4, taxied, and flew off into the sky.
Wow. Do you still have the book, Alfredo? Do you still have it?
Oh, yeah, I still have the book. It's
Absolutely.
sealed in a plastic bag.
I'll
in a
bet.
box.
No kidding. I'll bet. And that now let
It is as pristine as the day he gave it to me.
absolutely. I'll bet that's impressive. Now let me ask you.
And that was that was about 1984, 85. So it's
Really?
been in the box for a while.
Wow, no kidding. And let me ask you, you came from Freer, Texas, small town Texas. For some kid out there who might be getting ready to really contemplate a career in the military, but they're really on the fence about it, let me ask you, what would you say to that kid right now? I mean, because you probably felt all the same apprehension, all the same questions, the same wonder, the same fears that they have. What would you say to that kid?
Okay. Yes, sir. I felt exactly the same things. And what I would say to that young man or young lady is, if you feel that you're not sure what you want to do yet, and you want to get some experience in life. You want to see the world a little bit. Maybe get in a position of leadership, build up your character, both morally and also leadership-wise. Go into the military. You can try it for 4 years. If you don't like it, you can get out. And if you do like it, by all means, stay in it. There's nothing more honorable than serving your country.
Sure.
I served my country for 25 years, and I have absolutely no regrets about it. It was probably the single most life-changing event in my life was going into the military, because I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I owe a lot to Uncle Sam, and I would encourage young people to at least try it. And if you don't like it, fine, you get out. But if you like it, you've got a world of adventure and excitement ahead of you that doesn't compare. For example, like I mentioned earlier, at age 22, given the responsibility for the maintenance of 18 nuclear warheads on our nation's premier frontline nuclear missile defense. I mean, at 22 years old, where are you going to get that in civilian life, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And would you recommend going to?
I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, say again?
Now, would you recommend doing, if you had it to do all over again, would you still go to college first or go to college while you were in there? What would you do?
I'd go to college first.
Would you?
I think I'd go to college first. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to the academy or something like that, and getting a degree and going from there. But I enjoyed being a civilian, for my younger days,
mm-hmm.
and then going the route of officer training school.
Sure.
For me, it was a better fit. And I would recommend that, to anybody. I say, hey, you're not sure yet, get your degree. When you get the degree, then you can make the decision as to they want to come in or not.
Sure, absolutely. And your career in the Air Force led to a pretty amazing career now with Raytheon, right?
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, interesting story there as well. I was stationed again at my very first base that I was assigned to, which was Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, mm-hmm. Arizona. And I worked at a test center out there, testing aircraft for the Air National Guard and the Air Force Reserve. And, I was getting within about a year of my retirement. I made lieutenant colonel, and unfortunately I didn't make full colonel. So I said, you know what, maybe I should go ahead and punch out and retire at this point. Lieutenant colonel is pretty high. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay. So anyway, about 8 months, somewhere along there before I retired, I had made friends there in Tucson, Arizona, and one of my friends was a chief engineer at Raytheon Missile Systems there in Tucson. And he knew me. He knew all about my background. We were fellow amateur astronomers. Mm-hmm. And he says, Alfredo, when you retire, you want to come work for Raytheon? I said, sure, I don't have anything else. And what would I be doing? He said, well, you'll be working on missile systems on the other side, not as a customer, but as the developer. I said, hey, I already have the experience as a customer. Mm-hmm. Certainly like to do some more development. So he said, okay, give me your resume. So I gave him my resume. Within 2 weeks after I gave him my resume, I got a call from him. He says, hey, our department manager of our system engineering division wants to talk to you. They want to hire you, and they want to make you an offer. So they called me. We met for lunch. We talked a little bit. And then right there on the table, they laid out a little piece of paper in front of me, and they had their offer. When I looked at the offer, I saw it. I said, my God, this is almost twice as much as I'm making
sure.
as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force.
Right, yeah.
And they want me like now. And I said, well, I can't now. So I was thinking in my head, I looked at him and said, sir, I'm honored. I would sign this paper now, but unfortunately, I still have about 7 months left in the military before I finally retire, and I really can't take the offer right now. I say, hey, I'm going to take this offer, put it in my pocket, and I'm going to hold it for you. It'll be there when you retire in 7 months. And
really?
Sure enough, 31 July 1999, I retired from the Air Force. 1 August 1999, I was out of uniform, in civilian clothes, starting my very first day at Raytheon.
Really? What was the transition like, Alfredo?